Welcome to the Taste Test channel, and this week we'll be taking an impartial look at popular cola drinks from around the world to discover what the differences are and how some of the best-selling varieties around the globe differ in taste. As always, just for fun, we'll be awarding our Taste Test channel Best in Class award to the winner. And if you're new to the channel, be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss any of our regular taste tests. So a quick overview about cola, and the very first of these soft drinks was of course Coca Cola, invented in 1886. The name cola comes from the cola nut, found in the tropical rainforests of West Africa. These caffeine-containing seeds had long been chewed to reduce hunger and fatigue, employed in rituals or used as currency. By the late 1800s, cola nuts were arriving in Europe and the US by the ton and featured in dozens of medicinal tonics. So we've got cola, what about coca? Well, leaves from the coca tree of South America, from which cocaine is derived by the way, had also been munched on for millennia and offered in sacrifices by the Incas. Just like cola, these two made their way into tonics and tablets, including the popular French wine Vin Mariani, whose alcohol released the cocaine properties, making it more than a little addictive. Nevertheless, Pope Louis XIII, in his divine wisdom, fully endorsed it and awarded it a gold medal. But maybe he was just high. Coca-Cola contained coca leaf by all accounts for around 17 years when they switched to a decocainized version, but the mixture of coca and cola in a soft drink was to change the world forever. Today there's loads of brands out there, and naturally we can't include them all, but our lineup of popular colas from around the globe this week is as follows. The most popular soft drink on the planet, Coca-Cola, from the USA. Its main global competitor, fellow American brand Pepsi. The world's third biggest cola brand, from the southern states, RC Cola. Fair trade and organic option, Karma Cola from New Zealand. India's leading cola, Thums Up. And finally, Kofola from the Czech Republic. Price-wise, these all aim at being an affordable soft drink, but the cost to get hold of them may of course differ depending on where you're based. The amount in each can varies, so you can see the price that I paid per 100ml is shown below. As you can see, Thums Up Cola from India was the most expensive, but import duties no doubt played a part, and Pepsi Cola was the cheapest. Nutritional-wise, cola contains no fat and just trace amounts of salt, but it's long been criticised for its high sugar, teeth-rotting qualities, hence all the zero sugar options now available. For this video though, we've chosen the classic versions of each, as we've really wanted to compare the cola flavours, as opposed to testing which sweeteners work best. The chart below lists the brands from top to bottom in energy content per 100ml. As you can see, the top 5 are grouped quite closely, with RC Cola having the most energy, while Kofola from Czechia has almost 30% less. Looking at sugar content, the rankings stay much the same, with RC having the most sugar and Kofola having the least. But the amounts only hit home properly when you look at how much sugar is in each can. That's over 8 teaspoons of sugar. But how will all of this affect the taste? Well, that's why we're here. So we'll start our tasting quite rightly with the original, Coca Cola from the USA. As mentioned, it was 1886 when chemist John Pemberton produced his coca and cola mix as a stimulating tonic drink in Atlanta, where alcohol was prohibited. In its first year, it sold less than 10 servings a day. Unfortunately for the Pemberton family, just a few years in, John sold the rights to a man whose business tactics helped it become the world's most popular soft drink. Today, it's consumed just under 2 billion times a day. Interestingly, Coca-Cola only produced the concentrate. It's then sold to licensed bottlers around the world, and it's these companies who add the water and sweeteners. Which is why you might find high fructose corn syrup on the label in America, and sugar in many other countries. By the way, the cola flavouring is apparently now artificially produced. They add in caffeine, but as we all know, the exact recipe is a closely guarded secret. So what we're going to do is open all the cans first so we can compare them visually side by side, and then we'll move on to the tasting. Much as I'd love to, in the interest of science, I'm not going to add ice, simply because it will affect the froth, dilute the taste and condensate the glass. So let's open up the can. What a lovely sound, especially if it's a hot day. And we'll pour some out. So the initial fizzy frothy head dies back fairly quickly, and the aroma is of course that classic Coca-Cola smell, full, rich and deep treacly cola notes. And I'll look forward to tasting it after we've opened the others. Next, Coke's biggest rival, Pepsi. Yet it needn't have been so. In its early lifetime, Coca-Cola turned down the chance to buy Pepsi 3 times, including when they went bankrupt. Pepsi was invented in 1893, just 7 years after Coca-Cola, by pharmacist Caleb Bradham of North Carolina. Originally called Brad's Drink, he renamed it Pepsi to help promote it as a relief to dyspepsia, or indigestion. Despite great initial success, the firm went bankrupt in 1923 during unstable sugar prices. The assets were later bought by a man who was unhappy with the discounts his stores were getting on Coca-Cola syrup. Pepsi went on from strength to strength, especially after doubling their bottle size for the same price in the 1930s. To a large extent, they even popularised taste tests after their famous Pepsi challenge in the 70s, which posed that most people prefer Pepsi over Coke when tasted blind. In most countries, though, Coca-Cola still ranks top in sales. So let's open up the can. So a similar behaving froth, but a much more subtle aroma. It smells sweeter and has the same cola notes, but dialed down, less deep rich tones coming through, in the aroma at least. Next, I wonder how many people could name the third largest cola brand, RC Cola, also from the US and another result of a store owner not getting the discounts he wanted. In 1905, pharmacist Claude Hatcher from Georgia had a bitter dispute with his local cola salesman. Announcing he'd never buy Coca-Cola again, he started creating his own soft drinks. His first creation was ginger ale, followed by fruit syrups and a cola which became so popular that by 1920 it had 700 bottling franchises. Thereafter, the company had various struggles, owners and incarnations, but retained their innovative spirit, being the first ever cola sold in a can, the first diet option, and the first to offer a caffeine-free variety. Today, despite being the third most popular cola, they hold a mere 2.1% of the soft drinks market. But that's still a lot of revenue, obviously. Now, it was my intention to show this shot on all 6 brands, but when it came to RC Cola, despite having sat for a good 2 weeks since shipping and my pre-tapping the base, all 12 of the cans I ordered essentially exploded on opening, over the camera, the tablecloth, everywhere. An absolute nightmare to clear up, so from here on I'm afraid to say I'm opening them over the sink, but you will see the pouring directly afterwards. So what I would like to know from RC drinkers out there is that normal? Do RC Cola cans always explode with froth when you open them, or is my batch an unlucky exception? Ironically, it appears to have gone flat a lot quicker than the others once in the glass. Moving on though, the aroma is pretty much in between the last 2, stronger and more syrupy than Pepsi, but not as rich or full as Coke. But I'm going to be fascinated to try this one in the tasting section. Next, organic option Karma Cola from New Zealand, and one of the few colas you'll find today that's made from real cola nuts rather than artificial flavourings. Karma Cola was conceived in 2010 by 3 friends who wanted to sell products that were good for the land, good for growers and good for consumers. Already responsible for bringing the first fair trade bananas into New Zealand, they saw a gap in the market for a cola with a conscience and created Karma Drinks as a sustainable, fair trade and plastic-free social enterprise company. By using real cola nuts, their Karma Foundation means every drink sold gives something back to West African communities. Well, 1% of it does anyway, helping to fund projects from school scholarships to bridge building and seed banks. Today, they've sold 28 million drinks in 23 countries. So let's pour some out. So the bubbles are staying active for longer on this one, and an oily film is detectable clinging to the sides of the glass. The aroma is also very different. It's very strong, a cola smell underneath, but lots of vanilla and nutty tones coming through. So I'll be really curious to taste this one. Next, Thums Up Cola from India. In 1977, India passed laws requiring most foreign-owned businesses to divest 60% of their equity to local shareholders. Not surprisingly, many companies pulled out of India, including Coca-Cola, who would have also had to reveal their secret recipe. This left a gap in the market that was just too good to miss. Enter Thums Up Cola, created by the Chowan brothers who already produced other popular sodas. They devised their recipe from scratch, made it extra fizzy, and it quickly became the most popular cola in India. In 1991, when the laws reversed, Pepsi were the first to come back in, and the ensuing battle for top spot was fierce, with Coca Cola finding itself in an uneasy third place. Today, Thums Up remains India's most popular cola and a billion-dollar brand. Not to be outdone though, Coca Cola actually acquired the company in '93. By the way, the man on the can is Bollywood star Shah Rukh Khan. So let's serve some out. So I wouldn't say it looked fizzier, but it may well be in the tasting. The aroma has the usual cola notes, but also additional savoury tones, and I'm definitely getting a distinct smell of cardamom. Finally, much-loved Coke rival of the Czech Republic, Kofola. In the late 1950s, a scientist was commissioned by the state to create a Czech alternative to US cola brands. After 2 years, Kofo syrup was created, a secret caffeinated mix of fruit and herb extracts, and the drink Kofola followed in 1960. In communist Czechoslovakia, where Coke and Pepsi were unavailable or later exorbitantly priced, Kofola went down a storm and was soon found in almost every bar, restaurant and store in the country. It even sparked a flurry of imitations. The original, however, is well loved and popular to this day in Czechia, Slovakia, Russia and other parts of East and Central Europe. So let's pour some out. So a quickly dissipating froth on this one, but the aroma is completely different, sweet with very strong aniseed tones. And we'll discover if it's the same with the taste in just a moment. So looking at them all side by side, you can see any variations more clearly. Thums Up from India is by just a slight margin the darkest in colour, and Pepsi is the lightest with more reddish brown tones. Kola Cola from New Zealand also has reddish tones, and on close inspection is the only one which is cloudy in appearance, with a slight filmy scum on the surface, like you might get on a rich non-filtered ale. But with all this in mind, I'm really curious to discover just how much they vary in taste. So let's move on to the tasting. And we'll start with global bestseller Coca Cola. So I'm sure this will be familiar to you, but to break it down, lots of fizz with zingy frothy bubbles, but a thin, clean consistency. It's sweet, but not crazily so to the taste. The flavour is a classic full-bodied cola, with treacly burnt sugar, vegetal notes, some vanilla, a hint of coffee, and just the slightest medicinal touch, with a deep aftertaste of molasses or cane sugar. In summary, very refreshing, but also very rich. It could go to the stomach or can definitely leave you a bit burpy if you have too much of it. Next, we'll try Pepsi. So not as frothy as Coke, but still with plenty of fizz. It's slightly sweeter, but also milder. There's the same cola flavours, but less of the deep caramel richness, and almost none of the vegetal notes that were in the Coke, so it has a fresher aftertaste. It's less full-bodied therefore, but to me it also feels cleaner and thinner. In short, very refreshing and easy to drink. Next we'll try RC Cola, also from the US. So ironically, for all that initial fizz, it's flat as a pancake when you drink it, just the vaguest of bubbles left and a much heavier syrupy feel. It's also very sweet and syrupy in flavour, cola tones with slight vegetal and coffee notes, and a touch of dry bitterness in the aftertaste. To summarise, less rounded in flavour than Coke, and due to its syrupiness, much less refreshing than Pepsi. Next we'll try Kola Cola from New Zealand. So a different mouthfeel to this one, more like a cream soda, and with a slight oily waxiness. There's more fizz than RC, but not much, which makes it taste sweeter than it is. The flavour though is very different. It's cola, but with earthy tones, with an overpowering woody barkiness that reminds me of the thin inner skin of a Brazil nut. There's a strong vanilla punch too, and bitter lime citrus in the aftertaste. In short, I wanted to like this one, but I'll always be honest, and for me personally it's just too nutty, not fizzy enough, and the mix of flavours don't work. But I would urge you to try it, because whilst it's not my cup of tea, it could well be yours. Next we'll try India's favourite cola, Thums Up. So a watery mouthfeel, and certainly not as fizzy as Coke or Pepsi, but fizzier than the last two. And the bubbles feel smaller and quite zingy. It's medium sweet and not as different in flavour as I expected. All the classic cola notes, but also with sherbet tones, cardamom, maybe a hint of cloves, and a long bitter aftertaste of lemon rind, plus the chalkiness you get from bicarbonate or baking soda. In all though, quite refreshing and not a bad mix of flavours at all. Finally, we'll try Kofola from the Czech Republic. Wow, okay, so cola it is not. This is very, very different. This is an aniseed drink, through and through. Sweet aniseed, licorice and strong medicinal tones. Now personally I can't stand aniseed, but keeping my objective head on, they've actually mixed the flavours very well. There's a light to medium fizziness, it's sweet but thin rather than syrupy, and there's a strong sharp citrus aftertaste which adds balance. I can imagine it would be very refreshing if you like those flavours. But to conclude, this ain't no cola, this is Kofola. So that covers how they all differ in taste, and now that we've tasted them all, as always, just for fun, we award our Taste Test Channel winners and Best in Class award. But first, this is literally killing me seeing all these without ice, so let's add some in finally. I have to say, for me, two of these colas did stand out above the rest, and tasting them back to back like this really helps amplify the differences. If you like rich, syrupy flavours, then Coke offers full-bodied refreshment, while RC is sweeter, heavier and could be ideal if you like less fizz. If you prefer thin and refreshing, then Thums Up provides a citrus sherbety choice, or Pepsi offers classic flavours with easy drinking. Or for something completely different, why not try Karma for vanilla nuttiness, or Kofola for a whole world of aniseed I wasn't quite prepared for, but for some could be heaven. But our top three winners this week are as follows. Winning third place, Thums Up from India, thirst quenching and zingy with bitter sherbet and aromatics. Winning second place, despite being the global favourite, Coca Cola, an all-time full-flavoured classic beloved by millions, and I'm certainly not going to argue with that, but for me, cola's number one criteria is refreshment, and in that respect, our winner just took the edge. So in first place this week in the popular colas from around the world, the Taste Test Channel Best in Class award goes to Pepsi Cola. For me, Pepsi has a clean quality that makes it feel somehow thinner and more refreshing even than iced water. The flavours are well balanced but not heavy or overdone, and on a hot day it's infinitely drinkable and hits the spot. So well done to Pepsi Cola of the USA. And as always, taste is subjective and this is purely my point of view, but I hope it's provided some useful insights. And do bear in mind if you drink a lot of cola, there's a whole world of difference in calorific values between these and zero sugar options. So I've certainly enjoyed making this episode. I really hope you've enjoyed watching it. And a huge thank you to all you kind people who help the channel grow with likes, comments, and particularly by sharing our videos with fellow food fans. Not forgetting our handful of superstar patron supporters. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to ensure you don't miss out on any of our regular taste tests. Meanwhile, thanks for watching and, okay, here goes. Lip smacking, thirst quenching, ace tasting, motivating, good buzzing, cool talking, high walking, fast living, ever giving, cool fizzing Pepsi. See you next time.